Thanks for reminding us, we do. Visceral motor neuron could be a neuron that goes to the gland. Okay. Let me know. We may have to go through it. Okay. All right, chapter 14 stuff. So let's go through that real quick. That's all the brain stuff. And so there's not a lot of information from that chapter 16, but there is a lot from this chapter on the brain. So the brain stuff and this stuff is probably the most of it because that other chapter is so short. Not a lot of information comes from that, extra receptors, interoreceptors, that sort of thing. So, all right, so make sure, I'm just going to go through like your chapter 14 notes on the brain stuff. Make sure you know the major parts of the brain. Major parts of the brain. Brainstem, cerebrum, cerebellum, and the diencephalon. So I ask you, something along those lines, like which one's not, that sort of thing. Okay, that's good to know. Major parts of the brain. Next thing is that you want to know blood supply to and from the brain. So going to the brain, those are the arteries, the carotid artery. Coming from the brain, the veins, jugular vein, right? Carotid arteries in, jugular veins out. That sort of thing. So blood supply is good to know. You should know about the blood-brain barrier. And it's basically a barrier between your bloodstream and your brain. So astrocytes make that, keeps unwanted substances from crossing over from one side to the other. It's a barrier, protection, that sort of thing. That's all I have to know for that one too. So blood-brain barrier, astrocytes, so what isolates the brain. Alrighty, what about those protective coverings on the brain? Well, I have 3 layers. They're called the meninges, the pia mater, the arachnoid, and the dura mater. So those 3, make sure you know which one is more superficial. That's the dura mater. And then the deepest one is the pia mater, right? Just remember the word pad, P-A-D, pia, arachnoid, dura. Okay, so that would be good, those meninges. There will be a question on cerebral spinal fluid, probably several questions on cerebral spinal fluid. You probably want to know the function of cerebral spinal fluid, what cushions the brain, right, from impact, transports stuff like nutrients and ions, waste products, that's pretty good. The brain basically floats in that stuff, right, that's cerebral spinal fluid. And you want to know, like, which cells produce it. That would be the ependymal cells, right? So the ependymal cells found in the choroid plexus, lines the ventricles, that whole thing. So know about the functions and how it's produced. With that being said, you have to know the flow of that as well. Meaning that we have the 2 lateral ventricles. They empty into the 3rd ventricle through my little interventricular foramen thing, right? And then from the 3rd goes to the 4th ventricle through my little cerebral aqueduct. So make sure you know about the laterals, the interventricular, the cerebral, sort of like do the flow thing. They'll probably ask you about a good 2 to 3 questions on that stuff. So the ependymal cells and the flowing, naming the little ducts and all that. So that would be good. And let's see. So what's hydrocephalus?
Water in the brain.
Water on the brain, that's it, right? So hydro, water, like a hydrant, right? Okay, so we're good there. Other things you need to know. The brain stem. So what's included with the brain stem? Medulla, right? So your medulla oblongata, the pons, and the midbrain. So you may want to know that, right? So those 3 things go with the brain stem. Medulla oblongata, the pons, and the midbrain. Then you want to know like what each one of those things actually will do. So what's the medulla do? Respiration, heart rate, those sorts of things. Make sure you can go back and figure that out. Ascending and descending tracks, all those goodies. So know what each one will do. So what's the medulla do? What's the pons do? What's the midbrain do? Okay. Where might I find, this goes with that whole thing like who does what sort of thing, those decussations, that crossing over sort of thing, right? So the right side of my brain controls the left side of my body. It has to cross over. Where does that crossing over take place at? Yeah, in the medulla. Actually, that's in the medulla. You go through and take a look at all those. So in those pyramids, right, in the medulla, that would be good to know. So I'm just going to like what these things actually are doing here. So that's good. So we said, yeah, the medulla does heart rate and breathing and respiration, blood flow, all that good stuff. The pons, my second section, it's the bridge, right? That's my little bridge. Connects all my things together, ascending, descending tracks. So that's all we're looking for. That's just the bridge. And then we had on there the midbrain. That did a lot of stuff, right? And we did like a boatload. We had third ventricle was there. We had, what else? Substantia nigra, the red nucleus. We did superior and inferior colliculi, which did all those reflex moves of the head, neck, and trunk. We also did maintaining consciousness, awakens you from sleep. So we did like a whole lot of stuff. So that's like a big one. Probably about 3 or 4 questions from that alone. Just like, what's the midbrain do? That sort of thing. So that would be good. Several questions there. What about the cerebellum, the function of that little guy? Yeah, right. Balance is the key for that little guy. So I have the second largest portion of the brain. That's the cerebellum. Great for balance on that one. That's probably about it, right? So posture, balance, that's probably all you really want to know this one. Then we went on to the diencephalon. And what's included with that one? All those things that sound like thalamus. So thalamus, hypothalamus, subthalamus, epithalamus, things like that. That's all part of my diencephalon. And then you want to know what each one of those 3 things or 4 things do. And so we said, yeah, the thalamus, that's the big one, right? Maybe? No. Hypothalamus, right? I'm confused. So the hypothalamus, that's when it does eating, drinking, licking, whatever, that crazy stuff, right? So the thalamus basically is a relay center, right? All my sensory information being relayed through the thalamus. That's the key for that little guy. What else can we do for that little one? Hypothalamus, that's the big one, right? We said it does a lot. It connects to the pituitary gland, that little infundibulum. That would be good to know. And we have on there, yeah, it controls the ANS. All those emotions and behaviors are regulated with the hypothalamus. We can do body temperature, we can do day and night cycles, we can do swallowing, thirst, hunger. So it does a lot. So great thing to pick for that one. I think I said there's about 6 questions right in a row, pretty close to right in a row, that have the answer as hypothalamus. So there's a lot of questions off of that one. Epithalamus, not too much going on there, other than it's the location of the pineal gland that we use for going to sleep because it makes melatonin for us. So that would be one question maybe on that, like where's the pineal gland located? Well, it's in the epithalamus. What's it do? It makes melatonin. Something along those lines. Alrighty. Cerebrum. You have a right side and a left side of your brain. And if you're more right-sided, we said you're more artsy, creative, spatial awareness, music-oriented. Left side, language, right? Math, science, those sorts of skills. So right side versus left side. How do we connect them together? Corpus callosum. So you may want to know the corpus callosum connects the right side of your brain to the left side. That would be good to know. And then I gave you some definitions of sulcus and gyrus. Like what were those things, what were they, right? Sort of thing. Fissure. So a fissure is a deep groove. A sulcus is a shallow groove. And a gyra is like an elevated portion, right? Like a elevated region of the brain, I should say. So that would be good to know. What about the lobes of your brain? Can you name all 4 of those? Frontal, parietal, occipital, and temporal. So that's good. I know about those. I would also know about that central sulcus thing, how it divides the front of the brain from the back of the brain. So there's a question there. And then pre and post central gyrus. So pre-central gyrus does what for us? Somatic motor commands. Post-central gyrus does somatosensory. So all information from joint position and muscles and all that crazy stuff. So they're both sort of linked with like skeletal muscle stuff. That's good. And we already spoke about white matter and gray matter, how one's myelinated, the other one's unmyelinated, that crazy stuff. What about that word tract? A tract. What was a tract? Well, a tract was a group of axons, we said from before. Nuclei were the cell bodies, and the tracts were made up of the axons. And so I had 3 different types of tracts that I could find in the brain. And one tract actually ran from the gyra, right, on the same hemisphere. Those were my association tracts. One would cross over from one side to the other, commissural tracts, and then other ones would project a long distance from like the cerebrum down to your spinal cord. Those were called the projection tracts. So make sure you know about those three types of tracts. There's probably, I think I'll probably do like 2 questions on those types of tracts, like where they're located, sort of thing, like same side, crossover, projection, something like that. So probably a couple questions there. What about the basal ganglia? That's the one that works with your limbic system, the whole Phineas gauge, limbic system, emotions and behavior, things along those lines. So it might be good to know about that, how the basal ganglia work with the limbic system to produce you, right, your personality, all those great things, emotional behaviors, that's all good. Again, Phineas gauge, I would know his name. That's about it for that one. What's Broca's speech area good for? Yeah, right, all things with speech. So tongue movement, lips, cheeks, respiration, anything you need to vocalize something. So you'll be able to move your tongue, move your lips, move your cheeks, all those good things. That's good. We already talked about right and left hemispheres as far as the right side controls the left side of the body, left side controls the right side of the body. More right brain, you do this, or more left brain, you do that. So a couple questions there, I'm pretty sure. And then last, we have all those brain waves, alpha waves, beta waves, theta and delta. And we said, yeah, if I have some beta waves, I'm probably doing what?
Busy.
Busy, right. So B for busy, B for beta. If I'm awake, I have alpha waves. If I have some sort of brain damage, I probably have some delta waves, right? So learn those. I'll give you probably 2 questions on that too. So maybe a couple easy ones for you on that one. And then don't forget about those cranial nerves. We took the take-home quiz on those. Would you like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 questions on cranial nerves? Would it be easy for you or hard for you? You want less than 5?
Less.
Less than 5, okay. I would probably ask you, like, which ones are motor, which ones are sensory, right, that sort of thing. So if you just remember that little, some say marry money, but my brother says bad business marry money, that would be good to know because I'll probably ask you, which cranial nerve is sensory, which one is motor, that sort of thing. Could you figure out like which ones would be used for like eye movement? Maybe? So like 3, 4, and 6 for those. Which one for like facial expression? Facial nerve. Which one for like taste? 7 and 9 for things. So and you can think about that, right? So we'll do some cranial nerve stuff. Not sure like how many, but we'll do a couple, at least a couple. Okay. So that's chapter 14. 15 we said, or 16 rather, right? Doesn't have that much in there. It only has, let me pull it up here real quick. Interoreceptors, exteroreceptors, all that craziness. So there's not a lot of questions that come off of that. If I do like maybe 10 questions, probably, right? That might be pretty good. And then the rest will come from that autonomic stuff, which I did like a little review today on this one. All of this stuff, so make sure you know this, make sure you know that, make sure you know this. That's something I just went over like right before you just did a review. I would know all that stuff. Then get lots of questions just from that little bit of stuff. So, and then Monday, actually, we'll have your test in my hand, and I'll go through each one to make sure you got it all down. How about that? Then test on Tuesday. So, study a little bit over the weekend. Yeah.
What time's the practical?
Practicals for Monday, right? So the Monday group goes early, 11 to 12. Tuesday, Thursday group goes from 12 to 1. Yes.
Wednesday, what time is our class?
Wednesday. Well, Wednesday we'll have lecture at 2 for the final exam. So just come take the final, then you're done. So.
Can we make it like earlier?
Probably could. If you're ready to make the final exam earlier, you want to do it early at like 11 or something, or do you want time to study, or let's figure it out on the Monday. How about that? So I have no problem doing it earlier if you want to do it early, get it out of the way. That's fine for me too. So we'll really have lab anyway. Tuesday, no lab, right? It's lecture. So